mom came into the room and she's like, look at my phone. And then I couldn't see it, so I had to look at mine. I'm like, oh.
I can't bet against Tom Brady. I have the Bucks winning 31-27 and Tom Brady going to his 10th championship.
Yeah, and I really think the Clippers' chance to win the championship was last year. And they were up 3-1 against the Denver Nuggets.
Chris Paul is one of the most underrated players of all time. He's been the best player wherever he goes, and that includes with the Rockets.
You said you can't bet against Tom Brady, and as a Cowboys fan and what I just did last weekend, I am not going to bet against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. I mean, that's all I can really say. There's two of the top 5 players in the league, and they are very, very good.
Hello, I'm Taylor Hearn, and you listen to The Outsiders' Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. Since we last talked, there was a move, which was sad for me to see Dorian Finney-Smith go to the Lakers. But Austin had a different. There was another player traded, but the first player that popped into Austin was D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, D'Lo's been an all-star before. He's played well with the Nets, except for when he got hurt against Philadelphia, since he's been back in Brooklyn. But this is more discussing what team's going to make the next move. There's a couple teams that I feel like are on the verge of deciding to trade a guy. The trade deadline is getting closer. It's not necessarily around the corner, but it's like little more than a month and a half, right?
Yes, because it's in February. Yeah, month and a half. It is currently. As I try to get the date.
The trade deadline is February 6th, so it's exactly a month from today.
It's exactly a month. Wow. Okay.
So, it's around the corner. It's getting close. We have 4 weeks. So, what is going to be the next team to make a trade of? I'd say anything besides like really, really small trades would count for this. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. So there are a lot. I think one team that I wouldn't be shocked if they made a trade, but the Mavericks, Kyrie Irving was just announced with an injury. He's going to be out 1 to 2 weeks. So to me, this takes them out of trading away anyone or trading for someone because they're just not going to be healthy. And maybe it's a depth move, but nothing huge. To me, the big trade, the team, and then another team is the Heat with Jimmy Butler and that whole situation. Not going to go with either of those. I am going to say the Nuggets make a big trade. They go trade for someone. I'm not really sure who, but I do think they're the next team to pounce before the Thunder make a move, maybe even the Rockets. But the Nuggets, who have a team that have pressure to win big in the finals and make it to the finals.
Okay, who would they be giving up? You said you don't know who they'd be trading for, but do you have any general idea who per se they'd be giving up?
I am wondering if Michael Porter Jr. is on the list because I don't see Jamal Murray. I don't see obviously not Jokic and not Aaron Gordon, but maybe they're young guys, Christian Braun. They also have, I think, Peyton Watson. Some young guys, but I do think out of that big and the big contract could be Michael Porter Jr.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you think he has the highest chance of getting moved or close to? Because you can't trade Jamal Murray, not because you don't want to, but because of the contract that is tied to him. So I do think that makes sense. I think the next team that's going to make a move, you got to wonder if, because of how well the Cavs are playing, if they avoid making any trades, because I definitely think they could use some more depth. I think that they could use a little bit more, but if they decide not to because they're 31-4, that makes sense. I think the next team that makes a trade is probably the Bucks. I think the Bucks are 17-16, barely above 500, and they know they're going to have to get better to beat these teams at the top of the Eastern Conference. I think there's only 4 contenders right now in the East: Cleveland, Boston, New York, and Orlando. Orlando should be basically fully healthy by the time the playoffs come around, and they're 21-16 now. So I do think they're contenders. Knicks, obviously, same with Celtics and Cavs. I don't see how the Bucks could beat any of those teams in their current state. So, if I were to ask the same question, who would they be trading? I would think it would be a package regarding probably Bobby Portis, possibly Chris Middleton. I don't think Chris Middleton has too much value, not because he's not so good, but because of his injury concerns. So I think if they make any trades, it'll be a Brook Lopez or Bobby Portis. So it'll probably be Bobby Portis and draft picks to make any sort of sizable move.
Yeah, the Bucks are a good team, and I think they're similar to the Nuggets. You have a great player in Giannis, and they made big moves with Damian Lillard, trading for him, and it's nearing the end, especially with Middleton, as you talked about his health. They only have a few good runs left, or maybe even just one good run with this iteration of this roster. So they're definitely going to be pushing their chips in.
Yeah, I completely agree. Is there any other team you think would be selling? So we talked about buying teams. Which team do you think sells first or makes a big sell?
So I think the Kings are a team that sells, just because of they fired their coach, and in just a weird way too. And their a team that made some trades, but I think given where they're at, it seems like they are not focused right now, and there seems to be a disconnect. So they may go back into just focusing on the draft. So I really think I know there's been talks about De'Aaron Fox. I'm wondering about DeMar DeRozan. Um, I don't see any young guys, but just guys around them I could see getting traded, or in them just trading a lot of guys because they're kind of resetting everything.
Okay, I think the Kings make sense. I think the team that I believe will sell first is I think I'll go with the Bulls. I think the Bulls trade either Levine or Vooch relatively soon. They're technically still can. I mean, not even technically. They're in uh, a play-in spot, and they're only a game and a half behind fifth, which is just shows how bad the East is. But I don't think the Bulls. I think the Bulls probably try to run through this for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then closer to the trade deadline, they end up trading Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic.
Yeah, that can definitely happen. The Bulls are always a team where I was wondering if they'll trade someone. Levine and Vucevic have always been on the trade block, but given that DeMar DeRozan left, it could be the sign that they are going to just go fully into a rebuild. And I don't see. I know there's been talk about Kyle Kuzma, but I don't see the Wizards making that type of trade.
His
The only
value's
trade.
gone down so much that I agree with you.
Okay. And then I don't see the Pelicans looking at the last team. I think they're just dealing with a lot of injuries, and I don't see them trading a lot of their guys because they're all under contract for a while. So I just think they kind of tank and because of the injuries and get a high pick for next year for this upcoming draft.
Okay. I think that makes sense. We'll obviously see what happens, and I'm excited for the trade deadline. I think the trade deadline's it's like Christmas a little bit, but especially when it's a good one, it's extremely exciting.
Yes, and hopefully it's not hampered by any big name players. You can just see other guys get moved. I do think it's going to be shocking because I wasn't expecting that Dorian Finney-Smith trade, and then you have D'Lo going back to Brooklyn. So I'm excited to see what happens. And yeah, it's going to be fun, and we'll keep you updated. Like we just talked about in this episode, it's a month away, and be on the lookout for videos in anticipation for that. And of course, on trade deadline day. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.